Boom. That's it. We're just going full send. Greetings, everybody. Surprise stream, another for Friday surprise stream. I just threw together this setup last minute here, so give me a holler in the chat. How's the audio? I'm trying a new lab setup. Hopefully, I'm not blasting you guys. So headphone check. I can gain down a bit if it's too much. Here he is. Here he is. Just want to do a super casual, fun thing. This is something I've been wanting to do. I mean, I only just got this new belt, 2 or 3 days ago. But I've been putting off my belting stuff way too much lately, and I love it. So I wanted to give a birthday gift to myself. Yes, it's my birthday today. And do something I wanted to do. I took the day off. Good, I'm glad it sounds good. Thank you, Flying Drop Bear. Thanks for everybody joining us. Welcome to my kitchen table. Like, that is how cash we are going this morning. This afternoon. What is it? Yeah, 2:30 this afternoon. But I've recaffeinated and re-energized. We had a great Maker That Money stream this morning, and that was a lot of fun. And then I had some nice lunch, and I'm gonna have my kids later. And this was just, I got a couple hours here to play around, which is not something I normally get to do. So I'm beating Carl to getting it installed, which is like, that never happens, right, Carl? I'm usually like the last belt that Naomi sent me, it took me like months. It was embarrassing. Like, I almost feel bad because, you know, people ask if they can send me stuff, and I get excited because I definitely want to try it. It's just that obviously with the business, like, that has to be a priority. And so the amount of free time and energy that I have to do these types of things is small. No bowl of cereal this time, Eddie. I'm trying to, you know, up my I'm a middle-aged man now. I'm a grown-ass man, so we gotta up the ante. I'm gonna try not to be like gross and eat on stream. I had a little snack beforehand, but I will have my, you know, a couple pulls of my coffee. And, you know, with that said, I say we just dive in on. Really no major agenda. I'm happy to answer some questions, and we'll just kind of have some fun and go with it. I will do the best I can to kind of keep up with chat as I'm going right now. We've only got a few people in here, but yeah, holler at me, tag me, and I'll do my best to kind of address as I'm going. You know, the juggling act that is the live stream and focusing on the chat is always an interesting challenge. I am not nearly as talented as like the Joels or the noobs. Like, I watch 3D Maker Noob. He's like amazing at being able to like work and talk at the same time. Like, I can't. It's like walking and, what is it? Patting my head and rubbing my tummy at the same time or whatever. I'm just not as multi-talented. All right, good. Well, you guys are already feeding me some questions. I'll get to them in just a second. And while I'm getting started here, like I said, we're just going full send. So I'm going to get the belt on, and then we're going to just try to run a print. And I've grabbed one of my belts that I know I've been using recently and is in a current working state as it is, but I'm going to do a live demo. So that means I would love it if you guys have something reasonable for me to slice, like a small, ideally a small square or something that's not going to be like a ridiculously challenging thing, but a good test print. Carl, maybe you've got some ideas, and then I'll do a slice live using Kirimoto and kind of walk you guys through the process that I've done and what works for me. But obviously there's a bunch of different ways to configure things. Some of you may have this printer and use a totally different slicer. A lot of people like IdeaMaker, or even using the Creality slicer, which I've never gotten to work or been a big fan of. But hey, if you've got something that works for you, good on you. We'll talk about that. I'll talk about my clipper upgrades. I'll talk about some of the other kits. We've obviously got Carl's kit on here as well. The LDO motor upgrade that Carl designed with the mounts, which I love. We've got the extruder, the direct drive extruder on here, the Orbiter V2, which is another awesome add. I'll talk about all that. I'll talk about that. All right. So, Eddie Moser, what's up? What is this belt made of and how is it going to be improvement? That's a great question, Eddie. I don't know what this belt is made of. What I do know is that it's the same belt that is on the IdeaFormer belt, except for Naomi was able to get the supplier to make one that is native CR30 size. I did order an actual IdeaFormer belt and cut it down, but never got it mounted. So I got the width right, but the length is too long. The IdeaFormer is just a little bit bigger. I haven't actually played with that particular printer, but I will say, just in looking at it, there is more of a cloth type material. Like, there's definitely more aggressive texture, and the prelim reports I've heard from people that have used this belt have been very good. Like, stuff almost sticks too well to it, which I guess I would rather have that problem than not well enough, but we'll see how that goes. So it's blue. And you know, the inner track is definitely like a rubberized surface. The seam looks better than any seam I've seen on any of the belts I've tried before. Like, very clear line of delineation. And I apologize, I don't have, let's see here. I think I have my top cam on too, so you guys can kind of see. I can probably do some like this. I don't know how good the lighting is there, but the seam is awesome. It's fantastic. So there apparently is a directionality to it. I don't know how much it matters, but there is an arrow on the inside with the markings. So there's some markings here that are inside. I guess that's might be the manufacturer's name. And there's a little arrow that says the belt is supposed to go this way. So we'll just go along with that. There's nothing inherently obvious that says one direction or another would work better, but who knows? You know, we'll go with the manufacturer's suggestion. Oh yeah, Eddie's got one, and you still haven't. You noped out because of the Creality slicer. My friend, it has come a long way. I think Carl, chime in if you would. Yeah, Idea Maker. He's got a profile. There's some other profiles that other people have created. I'm a huge fan of Kirimoto. Carl, I don't know what your feels are on Kirimoto, but maybe you just haven't spent time with it. There's some secret sauce in there that we can talk about that really makes life nice. And then when you combine that with some of like the clipper upgrades and some other stuff I've done, it's pretty cool. So, okay, I am just gonna dive in. We're gonna unplug everything and move some of this power out of the way for now. I've got a Pi hooked up because, like I said, we run Clipper. I'm just gonna pull the power supply from that so we get a nice clean work area. And we're gonna go to town. Just stand up and maybe I'll sit down. I'm feeling a little cash today, so I hope you don't mind that I'm gonna just sit and work. Ready. The big question, is this the one true belt to rule them all? I feel like we've tried a couple different things now, Carl, haven't we? And, you know, it's like, we can get a result. Like, I've got a technique for getting the stock belts to work, but it's a process, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it requires some hardcore silicone remover and a lot of scrubbing and a grill brush and, you know, some different techniques that, you know, I've done basically what I've called seasoning the belt. But, you know, with a lot of the customers that I deal with and people that I talk to, it's just beyond what most people want to have to do or should have to do. It seems like you would think that Creality would have done a better job just sourcing such a critical component off the bat. And as I understand it, originally they did. So when they kickstarted, you know, Naomi says they had a belt they loved, and then at some point they transitioned to a couple different versions, and they just got away from the one that was like Naomi sanctioned, probably for cost, thinking it was good enough or whatever. And I can tell you very much it was not good enough out of the box, not the retail ones. I had an early one that was much more similar to this. Carl, how would you say this compares with the kind of the clothy one that you got, where it's like a heavy texture, and you can almost see the fiber weave on it, whereas like the stock one is more of like a really rubbery one in comparison. Let's see. What other questions? Oh, Free W67 says, are the stock belts that bad? Yeah, I guess I just talked about that. In my opinion, out of the box, yes. You'll get different results depending on what material you're printing. A lot of people say like they're okay for PLA once you break it in, but again, once you break it in, should you have to break it in? I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, I know there's kind of a seasoning process, arguably, for other 3D printers, where you might want to like wet sand a PEI sheet. But I don't know. Most modern printers, I mean, like they're pretty good out of the box, right? Wouldn't you guys say? All right, so I'm just what I do when I'm doing a belt swap. Honestly, I kind of skip my own steps. I actually did like a 60-second, speed round of this, and I'm not going for my speed record this time, Carl. But start by unplugging the critical electronics, and we're actually going to remove the whole deck, just because it makes life way easier. I don't know how else you would do it. But that requires unplugging the Z stepper and the bed thermistor and heater. So 2 plugs unplugged. And I'll try to stay in the top view. I don't know how much you guys care about this exact part, but there's plenty of other videos of this process. Yeah. What manual? I don't think it even came with a manual. Did it come with a manual? I am the manual, Vishal. I am the danger. All right, so I'm just pulling these screws that mount the whole deck to the frame. Being careful not to lose my washers, which I am almost certain to do. I also loosened the unloader ramp just to pull it forward. And so we should be free. And we are. So if you haven't experienced this thing, it's built like a tank. Like, it is heavy, guys. A big, beefy tostada. And let me move this. Oh, this is fun. There's a bunch of little filament bits that have collected below the unloader. I'm just gonna move the frame out of the way for a second. Put it over here. Hi, I'm off camera, but that's how we roll. This is the production value we deal with. All right, we got our deck. Our deck, I guess. I don't know what do you call it, Carl? All right, I'm gonna cheat on this one because it's sized to the exact one. So when I say cheat, like the demo video I did, that short I did a couple weeks back, I kind of disassembled a little bit more than what we got here. Right now I'm just gonna start by, I kind of leave these set screws loose. Like, I haven't found these tension things to like walk on their own, so I don't know if these set screws are really even that critical, so I rarely tighten them. These are the tensioner screws for tensioning the belt. One of the things I feel like they could have done just a touch better that I've seen on some other belt printers, like what's the one Joel gave me, the Infi 20. there's a nice little like set of like a scale of lines, so you can actually like line up the axle on each side and know that you've got it right. Because sometimes getting the idler, you know, squared up right so that the belt doesn't start to walk over one side. It's not a crowned roller the way you would see on like more of an industrial belt. And so if you don't get the tension right on both sides, the belt will start to walk left and right. And so there's a bit of a process for kind of recentering it. Not a big deal, like, you know, once you get it tuned, but it stinks every time you like have to adjust the tension. There's just little things that you play with. So anyway, loosening those up. And then there's 4 screws that basically hold this plate to the extrusion here. And I'm just gonna pull all 4 of those, and then I slide the roller up and out all together without taking this whole thing apart. Thank you for the birthday wishes, Vishal. I appreciate it. What'd you get me? You got me your presents. The present of your presents, and I appreciate that. Despite what that clown Clayton says, I am not 50, though I am on, I guess, the older side now. I'm 45 today, 45 laps around the sun. So covered a good amount of ground in my life, huh? I guess relative to, you know, the sun. For, you know, relative to the earth, I've just been sitting around most of it. Eddie, you bring up a good point about marketing problems. This printer and belt printers in general, I would argue, like, exist in a really strange space. And while I'm super glad that Creality just like went with it and brought it to market, I think it's a bit of a disservice that I'm going to say a value printer, you know, like Creality is known for making inexpensive printers. I think we can all agree on that. Brought this guy to market because it sets this precedent that this printer is just another offering like any other out there in 3D print world in the hobbyist thing, and it's really not. I guess it could be, like, yes, I know cosplayers want to do long swords and stuff like that. The reason we got it, the reason I'm excited about it, is for small batch production as an industrial tool. And Creality has, 1, no experience working in that space, and 2, like, the mindset of the people buying it is that, like any other 3D printer, I can take a model, generally most models, slice for it, and get a good result out of the box. And that is so not true with this printer. Like, we have had good results because we have adopted our models, and we are tuning the machine to print the things that we need, like you would with an industrial tool, right? Like, there's a heavy degree of customization. So that which works for me and my process may not work for you and your process. And so a lot of the customer service conversation I've been having on Twitter and stuff has to do with, like, people with the wrong expectations about how to handle the machine, or not being able to put in the work to adopt only the tool sets or the upgrades that might serve them best. And by that, I mean, like, some of the things that we offer, 1, like, I didn't design them. Like, we resell them because I would like to see more and more people adopt and tinker and play so that the whole space can grow. I'm not looking to be a 3D print modder kit releaser. Like, I do appreciate that it helps us fund doing things like this. Like, that does make me feel like there's a more sustainable path, so I can kind of justify the tinkering. But obviously, if the support aspect becomes too demanding, that's not our core company focus. And so I'm not looking to make anybody feel screwed out of anything or anything like that, but I know that there's a lot of people out there that are just thinking, like, I got this machine, it's not working out of the box, and maybe if I just do this, this, and this, and this, it's gonna be bulletproof. And that's not what I'm trying to say at all. Tell me in the chat if you think that that is fair. Maybe I just haven't been as outward about it. I know I'm constantly adding things to the description to the point where it feels like it's just this disclaimer nightmare. You know, I almost wish that I could like interview people that were interested in buying some, just to make sure that I could, you know, help guide better. I'm like, this might not be the printer for you. Like, I've had people approach me and go, I don't have a 3D printer, but when I get one, I want to get a CR30 because then I can do infinitely long things. I can do all of this other stuff. It's like the person that's never had a digital camera and then just spends like 10 grand on like super high-end pro stuff without having the fundamentals first. And God, that's such a wrong approach, in my opinion. It's a specialty printer, right? Carl I always say, right tool for the right job. We still very much use our Prusas for most stuff. Like the parts that we've had time to tune to this, like that we can't do on a Prusa, or that we have dialed in and gotten a acceptable result, we will run on this. Like some of our light kit parts that are too long for the Prusa or whatever will run on this. But I am still tweaking. That's my other thing, is that I'm still like, the belt will get us there. Like if we can find the belt, right? That's gonna solve, like, I think 80% of what's left of my beef with it. The rest is kind of like little subtleties and QC and longevity, reliability tweaks, stuff like that. So here's some stuff that I haven't really gotten into before that I really want to do more content on. I keep saying this, and I'm trying. I don't know if you guys have seen, I'm trying to do more short form. I like shorts. At least I can do like digestible stuff. I've actually figured out how to do it in my workflow. So I'm like, while I'm at the gym walking on the treadmill, I can like write a script and then I can film. And so I can do things in more digestible chunks that don't feel like this big ominous thing. But some of the content that I want to do around tips and tricks and of the hundreds of hours of things that we've had to do to this involve just subtle things that just you may or may not have encountered on your own based on how well the thing came assembled from the factory. So while the belt is off, a good talking point is, we've noticed, and Carl, maybe you have too, oftentimes these screws, I've taken the belt off and like this screw has been like not even screwed in, you know, or one of these screws hasn't been screwed in, or it's been stripped entirely, or this plate is like visibly bowed. So the quality control and the defect and the accountability at the factory with the Creality machine has a huge variance. And while that may or may not matter as much for some things, for this ramp and this point, like this is a critical surface. Unlike a traditional 3D printer where you're worried about a planar level, really you're kind of lucky with this in that you're really only focused on left to right with a big asterisk, because the unloading level is important as well. But how good this plate, this heater plate was made, and whether or not it cups and bows, and it will thermally deform, I guarantee you, as it heats up, makes a big difference in whether or not you're going to get a good adhesion result. It feels like adhesion because basically you'll start at level, and if you don't do this when it's heated up and you haven't made sure that these screws are tensioned properly, so this is good, you know, like if you're not starting with a good foundation, you're not going to get a good result. So if you have a cupped or a crowned bed that you're printing on, you're going to look and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, it's not sticking at the edges, or it's not sticking in the middle. Yeah, because you're literally trying to print on a convex, it's a concave or a convex surface. So while I have the belt off, I always like to check this. If we were going true pro, like there should be like a torque spec, and honestly, there's some hacks in the Discord group. I don't know if it's a hack, but something to look for where people have put aluminum block with like Kapton around it to basically keep the crowning or the bowing from happening, basically to allow some more like flatness. So when you're tensioning these screws, that they're basically bending the plate back into place. Again, not something you feel like you should have to do, and then you have to worry about potentially shorting the heater on the backside. Kind of a mess, but at the very least, and of course, like the one size hex I need is not here. So hold on. Oh, wait. I found it, I think. Yeah, here we go. So listen, what I would typically do, oh, let's just go do it. I'm gonna grab my square and my level. I am walking. Where did I put my square and my level? They're in the, I know where I put them. They're in the other office. You get to listen as I'm walking around. All right, got a little level. We'll just go with these, maybe this guy. Here's what they don't tell you. All the tools you're gonna need. I don't know why I'm singing, but I am. I'm back. All right, tools of the trade in belting land. Carl, feel free to chime in since you're literally more the granddaddy of this than I am. Good machinist square, like a square, like something you know is square, like legit square. So machinist square, not too bad on Amazon, price-wise. I don't know, something like 20, 30, 40 bucks, depending on the size. A good level, like a straight edge, like a legit straight edge that's been machined to a tolerance. Okay, so that you can actually get some good flatness reference. So you're looking here, you're looking corner to corner, we're looking front to back. You know, I also look at the unloader, the idler wheel and the position we're at. So this is like the fundamental foundational stuff that they never tell you to do, that they're not doing it themselves at the factory. And I would say most people that are not looking to dial this in as an industrial tool are not going to want to have to take the time to do this. So again, this is why like this classifies this machine in a completely different light, in my opinion. So I'm just making sure these guys are all just kind of snugged down, nothing has come loose. I've already done this on this machine, and I'll just fast forward because I'm not going to do the whole process right now, but what I will do is typically I'll take the belt off, I'll hook the heater back up, I'll bring the thing to temperature, I'll take my level check, and I'll make sure this is as flat as I possibly can get it, okay? And these adjustments that they've got here, my technique for this is I bring this thing all the way down to the frame, and only if I have to, I will move one side just as much as I need to get a level line on the extruder, and we'll see that when I put the whole thing back on there. I know a lot of people make the mistake of like cranking these things up and bringing the bed up to the nozzle. No. You bring the nozzle on the y-axis down to the bed, and that makes all the difference when you start printing, especially longer things, because there is a huge issue when the part starts to unload and it's going uphill or downhill and it wants to basically bring the belt up and off as the thing unloads. And so ideally this whole thing should just be planar and flat as possible, and you should support that part, if it's a long part, as much as you can as it's coming off, so you don't get that tendency for the part to want to walk around the roller and lift the belt on the side while it's still printing. Look at that. Carl agrees. That makes me feel so good, Carl. Carl, like I said, Carl is the man when it comes to this. If you have any questions, talk to Carl. I love that. I was saying refer people to him. Anthony, buddy, what's going on, man? Haven't seen you in forever. You guys, Anthony was our master craftsman in charge of making all of our French cleats for so long. And he is, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I want to say you're in like middle of the country, Indiana, Kentucky, something like that. I'm so sorry, I've forgotten. You're close to Joe Mike. Are you in St. Louis? It's all coming back. Anyway, so he would make them and paint them, and he did such a great job, and then he would ship them to us. We would like orders, and it was awesome. It was awesome. And I know he's probably moved on to much bigger and better things. And then when we moved over to our new place, we moved in next to a cabinet maker who now does a lot of that stuff on his CNC for us. So Kansas City, thank you. Yeah, 4 minutes from Joe. I don't know where I was going with Kentucky or whatever. I think I was thinking of, I was confusing with Bob. I like to make stuff. He's in Kansas, I think, right? Something like that. Or maybe it was Kentucky. Man, I barely know where I am. I'm old now, guys. Give me a break. All right, so should we get back to putting this belt on? So, like I said, this is the time to validate that what you got from the factory is as good as possible. So flat, like I said, plug it in, do it at temperature because it will warp over time. The unloader, so this is the hot plate here. This is the hot zone, this is the cold zone. So as it moves off of this part and the part starts to cool, it is still important that you are still as level as possible here. You don't want to create like ramping up and down points for the belt. So I'll just, you can see here, and when the roller is on, I really, I don't know, Carl, if you wish this as much as I did, but I really wish there was a vertical adjustment for the idler rollers so that this whole thing could be just drawn into plane better, because I feel like I've seen some variance just in the slop of these mounts to the extrusion where you can shift this up or down. So one of the things that we look for when we're putting the belt back on, upside down, is that we are as in plane, I say in plane, in linear plane as possible. Again, guys, like these details matter so much in terms of getting a good result. So take the time, do it right, learn the machine, learn its nuance, and then it will serve you well. This is a tool. And you treat your tools well, right? Anthony will tell you, any woodsmith, shopsmith, any maker should know that you treat your tools with respect and they will give you a lifetime, hopefully, or close to a lifetime of good service, right? Take care of your tools, guys. Pro tip number 77 from Pooch. All right, let's catch up here. Let's see, rear plate needs to be flush with the exit roller. Yes, we talk about that. Yep, they raised the build plate. That's exactly why I don't like this configuration. I can see why they did it, but it feels like a Band-Aid fix to me because the whole thing is a critical component, and just being able to, it's one thing being able to get some fine adjustment, but the fact that the travel on these things is so long is, and how is anybody ever going to know that if they're new to this thing, right? Like you have to talk to Carl. Hey, Metalhead's here. Okay, so other god amongst belting crowd, like now Metalhead, he's a purist. He'll tell you that, and he does. He gets great results with the stock setup. I think he's got early Kickstarter. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you might have one of the earlier belts before the whole retail belt fiasco went down that has led us down this path now. So I'm not sure where you're at with that, but I can say, oh wait, I'm gonna check my directionality arrow before I forget. Did I get the direction right? I did! 50-50 shot, lucky me. Time for a pull of coffee. That's good. I got myself an AeroPress like a month ago. I don't know how many coffee snobs are out there, but I love that thing. It's so good, it's so smooth. Same grounds, same roast I've always used, but man, the flavor is just different when you're just kind of just pressing it through there, making Americanos. I've already had 3 today. You can tell, I know you can tell. All right, so that's on there. I'm gonna take the idler and I'm gonna make sure I'm right side up. Right side up is like the idler screws are biased more towards the top. So we just kind of roll that in there. And then what you can do assuming that we're not bunched around. You make sure you're not bunched around the motor and that you're on the idler back there. Now, depending on how to, I don't know, I might have to take it apart. This one might be a little bit tighter. On the stock belts, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna loosen the idler in the housing all the way, and then we're gonna see what we get. I'm sorry about being clunky. I don't know what this, if this lav is picking up a lot of whacks and bangs, I'm sorry, guys. Let's see. I feel like that camera's not aimed. Could this be aimed a little better? Well, is that even useful, guys? Is it too tiny? Let me go into OBS here and just kind of get a little. Just covering over. There we go. We'll just enlarge. Enhance. 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 Let's see. I need to move the camera more this way. There we go. Is that too much? That's probably too much. You see all the floor now. You know, this is the, you can see how the sausage is made. All right. All right, so I'm just gonna loosen these idlers like all the way. Without taking them out, just to see. I could take them out if I wanted. I don't want to have to. We'll see. Hey, Mike's back. Mike's, congrats, Mike. Mike's going for the record on most Pooch live streams viewed today, which is 2. Oh, nice. Playing some World of Warcraft, huh? Metalhead, tell me your actual like birth name again, too. I just want to call you Metalhead. Maybe that's okay. Maybe I should just call you Metalhead. I know we met at IRF this year for the first time. That was awesome. I love meeting people IRL. It's always good to put an actual face. There we go. I don't know if you see what I did right there, but like basically I could just kind of walk the mount plates around the end, which is great. So this belt definitely has some more beefiness to it. Proper descriptor. So it's got a little bit more flex. So I was able to just kind of walk that on, and now I'm just going to put the screws back in the end of these plates. Tension this up again. Again, guys, there's videos all over the place. Carl's got a great one. A lot of people have the actual bed swap process down, and there's a couple different ways to go about it. The whole idea of this is just more for the funsies and the experimentation. Okay, so start. Hey guys, somebody hop. All of you, you have homework. Go hop on printables and find me a model that like we can get going, that we can see some results in a reasonable amount of time. Something a little more interesting than a calibration cube, but not something like crazy organic. That's going to be just nutso to, because we're trying to. Like some leading edge, something with some good leading edge. Carl, like what's a good little tester print that, isn't going to take like 5 days to run, but we can do a slice and a print on, and I can share my process for that. Did I check the thickness? I did not check the thickness. Let me go get my caliper. It is definitely thicker. Thick, like double C thick. Sexy thick. I can still do that. I'll grab my calipers. I can still do it before I tension it. So stand by and I'll check the thickness for you, Carl. Searching. Stand by. Max, that's right, Max. I feel like I knew that. And then I forgot it. Just like I forgot where Anthony lives. Why is chat cutting all your posts? I don't know, Carl. Are you chatting too much? Is it just putting you in slow mode? Or is it just deciding to censor you? Is it chat GPT? Okay, so this is what I was talking about. Like I can actually feel this move probably a solid millimeter if just with the slop in these holes here, top to bottom. So I'll check the level again before I like final tighten, but I'm gonna go get my calipers so we can see how thick this is. I'm just gonna like basically line what do we call this, Carl? The idler mount plate, I guess, so that it's flush to the extrusion edges, so I don't feel any bias top to bottom. I'm gonna do my cross tighten pattern. We'll just do that by default. That should be fine for what we're doing today. Yeah. I know. I'm the same. That's why I put it on you. I don't know what to print. I mean, the stuff that we test print is so boring. It's like I just run that flat sheet, right? Which we can do to start, just to make sure we're getting adhesion, you know, and then we go to something more advanced. It's not as fun to watch, but at least, you know, we can literally just start printing a sheet, and we will, just to see that we're getting stiction. Stiction? I think that's a word. All right, so it's loosely on there. I'm gonna grab my calipers. Stand by for that. My calipers. We're singing while we're looking for my calipers. Oh man, I just had them too. What did I do with them? Remember, because I lost that little door that holds the battery in, and then I put them somewhere because I was like, I gotta fix it. And I don't know what I do with it. Maybe I'll put it down here in the measuring. Oh, whoa, wait, no. Aha! Ooh, that's right. I brought a better one home. Now watch, I bet you the battery's dead on this one. No, we have power. 0. Good, my Vinkas. Vinka. Not sponsored. All right, let's see what the old Vinkas say. 0, we're zeroed. Stand her up. So I'm not gonna like overly compress. I'm getting 1.55 millimeters thick. Just like kind of going the full caliper. Maybe like, yeah, I'm gonna call that 1.5 millimeter thick. Let's see what that is compared to the stock boy. Stock is like 1.24. So like a 1/4 mil thicker? I don't know. How does that sound? Sure, tensioner brackets. That sounds good. We can call them that. Uh-oh, Max has got to feed his lions. Let's see. Sir Lairs a lot. Ooh, a Rep Raptor. Now there's a blast for the past. Blast from the past. Hey, Chris. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. If only I had a way. If only I had the time and energy to make a new battery door. In fact, somebody's probably done that, right? There's probably battery doors all over Thingiverse and printables and stuff. But like, why would I spend the time to model and print that when I can just put a piece of tape over it, right? And wasn't I just saying like treat your tools well? Yeah, except for calipers. Calipers are disposable. No, not really. All right. Yeah, I'm with you. I like thicker, heavier things always feel better, right? You know, it's like that implication of quality. Implication of quality. All right, I'll take care of my. Well, you know what? Let's do a rough tension. And you know what? I'm glad I got my calipers out. So what I'm gonna do. So I'm just going to start to tighten the idlers, and let's see, making sure these are just kind of flush to the extrusion like I said, and tightened the way I like. This is the way I like. Yep. And you know, we've got the belt like roughly centered. Like I said, it will probably want to wander. You know what? I wonder, Carl, if the thicker belt would be less prone to wander or more prone to wander or the same proneness? Don't know. All right, so I get enough on there, so I get a nice like low E twang. No, that'd be cool if there was actually like a music note you could hit. Bow, bow. I will say this. I do like to run them tight because we wall mount them, and I have found that when you keep the tension high, it's less susceptible to that. What are you calling that effect, Carl? When the whole thing kind of like lifts up as the long part unloads. But one of the other things they don't tell you that you have to learn as you go is that as you apply more tension and you stretch the belt, there is a Z calibration, not to be confused with an extruder calibration. A Z calibration, every time you adjust these things, you are potentially changing the distance that Z is traveling. And when you're doing small parts, like that amount of error is certainly less noticeable. But when you start doing long things, like when you print like something that's 100 or 200 millimeters long, you may only get 180 if you have your stepper value set with a certain amount of tension in mind. So that Z calibration process, and Carl has it on his website, is another important thing that I might be wrong. They may tell you about that now in the Creality manual. I don't know. I haven't looked at it in forever. I don't generally go by what the silly little 10-page brochure, says. And frankly, we got ours years ago, so they may have updated that manual now. But anyway, I'm going to get my calipers out again. So I did a rough tension. This is pretty snug, and it feels substantial, and it is a legit edge to edge. And there's something about that thickness too, Carl, that I'm noticing that doesn't have that, like there's something about the stock belts that would kind of curl or fray at the edges, maybe a little differently, that I'm not seeing. I do feel like I'm seeing, and this is something that's been known for a bit, on the drive, not the non-idler, the drive pulley for the belt is lower than the print surface, so that it is actually coming up to hit the heated plate. So you can actually see where that point is. But then if I throw a level on here, I don't know if you guys can see this. I'm going to try to kind of see there's a substantial lift right there. And I don't know if that was originally to just try to clear the extrusion better. Here, let's bring this all the way down. Even with this all the way down though. And Mike, I know you've been tinkering with yours for a while and stuff too. So this was what I was saying too. We should always start with this zeroed out, flat as possible. And then only adjust the one side that you need to get that straight line. All right, catching up in the chat. Max, you like the blue? I want red. I'm really pulling for red. Assuming this is the one, and assuming that changing dye color isn't gonna change things. Chris Travis, you heard somebody else's birthday too? Are you talking about me? Yep, it's my birthday. It's my birthday. I am 45 years young. I am not 50, but I am pushing 50. So that's saying something, I guess. I don't know. I don't want to be 45 or 50, but we don't get a choice in these things, do we? All right, so we've got a loose tension. I'm just going to get a measurement here from the edge of the idler shaft to the edge of the bracket, the idler bracket. So I'm getting like a touch under 6 mil. So it's not a lot. I'm not even halfway. And on this side, I'm getting 6 1/4. So I'm just gonna tighten this side a touch. Try to get it even to start. Now, just because these distances measure the same doesn't mean that there's not potentially slopping the mechanics somewhere else. Ideally, we're trying to get to the point where it's like, obviously the length of this side of the belt and this side of the belt are the same, so they're not stretching one side more than the other and causing the belt to walk one way or another as it rolls and rolls and rolls. Sometimes it takes a couple laps to tell. So I'm at 6.2, and you got to keep this flat, otherwise you're not going to get a good reading. 6.18, and when I say flat, I mean like in parallel with the actual belt surface. 6.22. 6.25. Just a hair there. See what that gets us. Let's see. Oh, Mike says he ran a bunch of parts on his last couple of weeks. Rep guard upgrades are working great. Commercial. Well, thank you for that advertisement break, Mike. Yeah, I'm going to call that good. So, based on measurements, we've got it tensioned the same roughly on both sides. Looks good. I got to say, I love that it is not black. We print a lot of black parts, and just having some contrast is a beautiful thing. Oh, Carl, I'll make you a mod. You're certainly mod worthy. Let's see. You can be. Oh, wow. Let's see. There we go. Okay, you have been modded. I believe. Oh, it looks like there's multiple kinds of mods now. See if you can post a link now, Carl. With great power comes great responsibility, though, so don't abuse it, please. Yeah, Mike has gone, he's hardcore. He's even got my super alpha, well, I don't know if I say alpha, beta, I guess, Revo, like custom turned Revo nozzles and kit for the CR30, which are awesome. I love being able to swap nozzles easily. Unfortunately, because we need that angle, you lose that ability to finger loosen and tighten. But I still find it to be way easier and faster than the stock nozzle swap. But I don't know, maybe you guys don't need to swap nozzles very often. Maybe that's not really a use case for you, which again is why we offer a la carte a lot of these different upgrades. You may or may not need any upgrades. If you're max, you are happy. You're a happy camper with the stock. All right, so old belt, be gone. And let's mount this guy, whack, and see what we get. Who's got a model for me? Well, we're not quite there yet, but soon enough. Good opportunity to do a little cleaning, and I'll talk about some of the other upgrades we've done. Bring a trash can out here. So we're in a bit of a winter wonderland here today. Like, this is the first snowstorm of the winter that we've actually had snow that's sticking on the ground. I know the national news has been talking about like storm of the century, like everything's such a big deal these days, but you know, it hasn't been terrible where we are. I know it affected a lot of the western United States, and I'm guessing a lot of places got hit probably way more heavily than we did. But, you know, we got some good wind and rain last night, and then this morning it just kind of turned into a really docile, light snow, and it was really peaceful and beautiful, and I, for one, appreciated it. All right, so I've placed that back on the frame. I'm moving very slowly, which I hope you think is okay. This is just for funsies, casual. What do we got here? Yeah, we got a link. You posted a link. What is the link for, Carl? Let's see if can I copy link? If you rickroll me. Yeah, see, it did this earlier to Grant. It like truncates the link for some reason. Why is it doing that? It like chopped the end of that link off. Can I open the link in a new window? Oh, there we go. No, something went wrong. Something went seriously wrong. Well, it doesn't work for me. I don't know why it doesn't work for me. Oh, wait. Oh, I had to like expand it? No, it's trying to open it in my studio view. Maybe that's the problem. What if we just change studio to dubba dubba dubba? Oh, there we go. There it is. Yeah, aligning the y-axis. There's Carl. It's Carl. Hi, Carl. Yeah, good linky link. Dude, Carl has so many good videos for getting these little tweaks that they don't tell you about done. So I would definitely, if you're serious about this machine and interested in belt printing in general, his catalog is tip-top. Some may or may not apply to you depending on how you're slicing and what tools you're using. But I think it's all a good overview and should be required viewing, in my opinion. All right, so I'm just going backwards here. I'm just plugging, well, I guess I should put the screws in first and then we'll plug everything back in. 6 of one, half dozen of another. Now this is the part where I always end up losing a washer because my fat fingers get in the way, guys. Old fat fingers. That's what they're gonna call me. I'm lucky. Just bolting the bed back to the frame. No biggie. Now, I'm not going to tighten it all the way. They leave a little adjustment in here. And, Carl, I don't know if you've ever played with this, but I have noticed that, or anybody else, I know I keep picking on Carl because I know there's other belters in this stream right now. So this is not unique to him. But what I was going to say is the brackets here that allow you to screw the deck down to the frame. Why is this not going in the hole? Why are you not going in your home? You too good for your home? Let me loosen that guy up, nudge you over. They allow you to shift the whole deck forward and backwards, like maybe a couple millimeters. And at first I was like, well, I don't know if that really matters. But I have noticed that when you run, so the height that your nozzle is off of the belt will vary depending on what configuration you might have here or what hot end you're using. And when I go to this linear rail kit, it changed the positioning slightly, I guess. And so we dropped the whole y-axis down. Like I said, because I want the nozzle to go to the belt and then I use one side as my final adjustment to get level. Now, what I'm getting at is that the point that the nozzle lands, I had noticed before on the thinner belt, there are those screws that I was showing you that hold the plate down, and the nozzle would like land in the divot or the countersink was for the screw, and I could see a little bit of deflection as it would push that downward. That might not be an issue with this thicker belt, but I did notice that when I biased the whole deck backwards, it would just miss that countersink. I don't know if, I mean, that could be just overly neurotic on my part. I don't know if yours lined up that way. They could have changed the position of those mounting holes at some point, but just something I noticed. And the other thing is that you can very easily mount this slightly cattywampus if you're not paying attention, like where the deck is actually not running parallel to the frame, which means that you would be printing on an angled deck ever so slightly. So you got to watch all of these things, or you're potentially causing just subtle little things that could affect your prints. Yeah, they should have keyed the deck better. Yeah, it's a technical term, keying the deck. Manning the deck. So what I do is I just make sure that I've got it shifted and that all of them are biased all the way towards the back of the machine. And that has worked best for our application with our upgrades. Let's talk about upgrades for a second, should we? Shall we? Who wants to talk upgrades? Let me upgrade you. With the double D, the extra D is a double dose of upgrades. Dun, dun, dun. How's everybody doing on time? What's everybody up to this afternoon? Why are you hanging with me? Why aren't you out partying on a Friday night? I know a bunch of you are East Coasters, and I know you have big Friday night party plans, and yet you're here with me, probably for my birthday party here. Somebody bring some hats and a kazoo and a cake. I'm actually going out later. My kiddos are going to take me out to sushi. I don't know how that's going to work because none of them drive, but they claim they're going to take me out to dinner. It's going to be a long walk in the snow. A red belt would match the NAC motor mounts. I agree. It also matches the Repcord Red that we love. It also makes it look faster. Red always makes things go faster. That is science. So yeah, I'm really pushing for that red belt. This thing looks good, guys. This looks good. I mean, I have a good feeling about this. I'm getting some really good energy from this belt. Let's talk about the upgrades for a second before I start getting into the next thing. So, flipping this around here. Let me see how that's framing up in the top. Oh, you guys, look at that. You can actually look at that. See that pretty well. You see my nice dirty floor and power cords over there. All right, so first set of upgrades that we did were the LDO motor, NAC 3D LDO motor kit. So that swapped the standard steppers for 0.9 degrees. So the standard steppers were 1.8 degrees. These are 0.9 degree steppers. So theoretically, I know there's a lot of back and forth about, is there a benefit to doing that? Like, you technically have a little more resolution, but maybe you lose some torque, I'm not going to debate that. The advantage of these is twofold. The first being that you now have a supported pulley on the top. There was a number of people, a non-zero number of people that I've interacted with where their stock stepper shaft sheared off because this is a Core XY, meaning that one of the idlers on this stepper was on a, what is it, Carl? Like a 40 millimeter shaft or a longer stepper shaft. So it's under more strain and there was no frame or pulley to support the top of that shaft. And so if you over-tensioned the timing belts, it would shear itself off. And it did shear itself off in a couple of cases. So this is a reliability upgrade for that. Also, the temperature that these get is substantially cooler. So I would argue a longevity, a reliability upgrade on multiple fronts. I took a measurement when we installed these originally, and they literally run, I'm not kidding, 25C cooler than the stock versions doing the same prints at the same speed. So it doesn't need a ton of torque. It's got plenty of torque. They are big, beefy. Beefy is relative, but they're more than capable. And they run cooler, and so my hope is they'll just run a lot longer and that the mechanics are better. I will say this, Carl, I don't know if you've come across this. LDO earlier on, I haven't had nearly as many reports now, but when they had this bearing that supports the shaft pressed in, I think they were overly compressing and denting the race of the bearing, and it was causing an obnoxious clicking noise that people were freaking out about. We run in a print farm environment, so it's like there's just stuff is so noisy and all this stuff. Like, I don't care. Like, we heard some clicking on some of them, and when I played with it and popped the bearing out and replaced it with it's a standard, what is it, 605 bearing? I think that's right, or 625 bearing. It was fine. It was fine. There are other places that it will click. It's not necessarily just there, but of course everybody that was getting it would freak out, even though it would not affect the print whatsoever, because it was just that little water torture tic-tac, tic-tac. But there's that. And also, Carl, as you say, they look cool. They're red, and they just make the printer faster because red is faster. So good. Vast CNC. Have you seen some of Paul's tinkerings with tank treads on his print shift project? I have not. Interestingly enough, though, I have printed tank treads for my Death Racer out of TPU on the belt and got a phenomenal result. I'm wondering if you're talking about like he actually uses like a tread for the belt instead of, because I think print shift originally was just using some taped PEI sheet, or was it Kapton even? Vast. Yeah, Mike says he's heard his click from time to time and he just leaves the room. Yeah, that's my solution to everything. And if things get bad enough, I just move. I just move houses or shops, and keeps things fresh. Yeah, the clicking. So the other thing that can be clicking in the idlers down at the bottom, I discovered that the the screws that they use to hold those on are not, they're full threads. And then the spacer that they have between the two idlers for each of the timing belts were a split washer, which meant that there were times where like that split washer could shift in between the slop because it wasn't a straight shaft screw. And so when we were, long story short, we replaced those screws in the idler with a partial thread screw of appropriate size so that there wasn't nearly as much slop and the bearing couldn't move around on the threads. And then took that split washer out and just replaced it with like a little printed nylon washer. And lo and behold, no more clicky clicky. So again, not things to tell you, not things that Creality would even think to probably care about. They just saw it, well, we need a low profile washer. Split washers are that low profile. Let's just use a split washer here. He's using aluminum, Vast CNC says he's using aluminum tank treads for the belt, experimenting with it. He was using Kapton earlier, yeah. Aluminium tank treads. Laser cut from Sen Cut Sen. Do love some set cuts. Sen Cut Sen. Yeah, the stupid lock washer. Yeah, so, you know, having been in and out of all the guts. Yeah, there you go. 2 millimeter spacer from McMaster. I mean, these are all things like I actually got some of the right size screws and spacers and was like, oh, I'll put these up as a listing, and I like never did. I've got them somewhere. The amount of time that I have, like there's so much work and hours that have gone into like figuring this machine out for us. And, you know, I end up buying a ton of something thinking like, oh, well, I'll make it available to other people. And then I don't. I need more time, more management, more. I'd like to have more people, but I just don't. I get the chicken or the egg where it's like, well, we don't have quite enough sales to justify hiring another person, and it's not our primary focus. I don't know, more than you guys asked, but anyway. All right, so next upgrade that we did was the X-axis linear rail that you see on here. I'm gonna flip it around. You can get a good look at it. Probably being obscure. There you go. There's the look. So we just put a linear rail. I've never liked the V wheels for multiple reasons, and I know a lot of people. V wheels are fine. Max will tell you like his has been fine. Like yes, this upgrade is an issue with holding tune for longer for a production environment. So V wheels totally work, and you can absolutely tension them and adjust them. And reset them and all that stuff. I don't want to have to do that. And when we're running lights out, the last thing I want to do is have to go through a maintenance process any more often than I have to. And so having that and not having these dang Delrin dust, the DDD that comes with V wheels as they wear on the extrusion, I was just like, get rid of it. Easy upgrade. It required some custom drilling of the plate. Originally, we created like a template for that, but then, you know, people can't, if you're not really making sure that that's squared right, you're going to create more problems for yourself because, like I was saying with this, if there's any deviation in your angle of attack, but also your square being perpendicular to the belt surface, which you can get if you drill your holes too big and you don't mount it right. So I took it to the machinist and we got that as good as we can. And there's still some slop you have to watch for, which is why I got my square out, and we're going to look at that next. You know, so there's that. So I really, really like this. To me, feels like a no-brainer upgrade. The other upgrades that we've done, and I keep going like, well, if I was going to do one thing, like originally from the stock, if I was going to do one thing, I think Max would say this too. If you only could do one thing and you had no money to throw at an upgrade, it would be cap tube. It would be putting cap tube. The PTFE tube, even at PLA temperatures, will eventually melt in the stock hot end. It is not a full metal hot end by default. And so if you were to just replace this length here with cap tube, that would help reliability. That said, we went well beyond that. We put the slice full metal hot end that it's the CE heat break, the bimetal, beautiful thing. Just like stock heater core thermistor nozzle with just that slice heat break makes the whole thing more reliable. You could probably not do cap tube with that even if you wanted to, but we already do. So that's in there. We replaced the nozzle with the Power Belt 7 mil. So my nozzles really like stand proud. They're like, there's a good amount of distance between this plate now and where this touches. So that's why I'm saying like this distance is gonna depend on what you've got going on in your hot end configuration. But I really like the hardened steel nozzles that Adam over at PowerBelt 3D has to offer. We resell them on our website as well. But for abrasives, we run a lot of CF PETG. They work great. They've got just such a good steep. It looks like a pencil tip, and the lack of like ironing surface like doesn't seem to matter. I just get a nice precise tip. It's a good nozzle. It's a good nozzle, and they're cheap. They're relatively inexpensive. That's a good upgrade. The LDO orbiter too, like the direct drive, bringing the extruder motor down here so that it becomes a direct drive. When I haven't actually tried this with stock Marlin, although I would imagine it would still be better because Bowden, for retraction purposes and dealing with calibrating your retraction, is always requires more work. This I feel like didn't add a lot of mass. Carl did the design for the mount, and LDO makes it and then pairs it, and so we have that upgrade available as well. That was awesome. I feel like we get a nice precise extrusion with that, and when I paired it with Clipper and all of this stuff on Clipper, it was like night and day. Like, I don't know, Carl, have you played with Clipper? Yeah, it's my 50th birthday. It's not my 50th birthday. Freaking Clayton, man. So I'm a big fan of the work that GridSpace 3D did on his machine and putting Clipper on. And so I still haven't posted this. I need to post it. But I've got basically the version of Clipper that we run. I need to do like a short on my just like whole firmware workflow. It'd probably be a couple of them because there's a lot there. But the combination of all these things and like how much better a part result we were getting with all of this stuff, it was like just night and day. But if you were, like, again, like people ask me if I had to do one thing, first now it'd probably be, well, it'd be clean. If you have a stock belt, it would be the proper preparation of the belt is like the most critical, because you can do all this other stuff, and if you don't have a good foundation to print on, it's going to be garbage. Then if you have good stiction to your belt, cap tube on a stock, and then Clipper would be the next thing, because like the pressure advance, the speed, like the quality of the tool pathing and the smoothness of the whole thing is just like visibly better than the stock Marlin that came with it. I haven't run the latest community Marlin, so I'm not even sure how far Marlin's come along. Carl could probably comment on that more. But we went to Clipper also because it's native. I'm basically running Clipper on top of Octo native so that we can take advantage of the massive Octo library of plugins. The biggest one being the continuous print plugin, which is everything when you're doing production. And yeah, so there's a lot. So you can tell really quickly, guys. There's a ton of variables that I've swapped out. And there's a good amount of checks that you have to do even on the hardware. Carl can comment on this too, like checking your VREFs on your stepper drivers and making sure everything is tight on the ground loops. They did a good job of, well, I don't know if they did a good job, but they put an effort into EMF mitigation on this in that they literally threw chokes on everything. So if you open up the board, there's like every wire is wrapped around a magnet, is it ferrule magnet? But speaking of ferrules, one of the things they didn't do that I did on that video I did with Joel was putting actual ferrules on the high current lines for the heater bed, the thermistor, not the thermistor, the heater core, the heater bed, and the power supply. They were just tinned wire going straight into the board, which is a big no-no. So we crimped proper ferrules on there. There's a good amount of stuff. There's a good amount of fundamentals that you just have to check and take care of your tool so that you've got a good foundational framework. Now, that's a lot of talk. Let's start a print. I'm already getting long on time. Let's plug everything in. What are we gonna print, Carl? What did you decide on? No, the CR30s are not running 8-bit boards. They're running the 32s. What's the version number, Carl? I don't remember. Oh, we have, by the way, a Y-axis upgrade kit that we've been playing with, and you might have seen on some of my other machines. I'm still not fully sold on it yet, which is why I haven't released it yet. I think we've gone a little bit too far trying to work with this stock extrusion, and when I do this Y rail, I change this to a rail. Like, what I wasn't happy with was because this mount for the nozzle is so long now, it was really putting a lot of torque, and I could actually see this rotate when I didn't have some rigidity to the base. So the Y kit that we have works, but mechanically I'm not fully satisfied with it yet. I think we need to rethink how it clamps onto the frame a little bit better. Maybe putting the extrusion inside, but the problem is where the timing belt idlers go and the position of that, and I think we need to like revisit some of that still. So I'm not releasing that to the public yet. But I think there's some opportunity there as well. I think part of that was me just like really hating on V-wheels and wanting to get rid of them. Like, they're not as big of a deal in the Y-axis as they are in the X because of the fact that I just didn't feel like it supported the hot end. Like, if you didn't crank down on it so it wasn't pinching tight on the extruder, you would have a lot of slop in this. And then it would add more friction to the whole thing, so it was like harder to pull back and forth. I just feel like the going to linear rail there was a much better choice. All right, so I'm plugging that in. I'm doing my amazing cable management here. Oh, should I talk about running the nozzle and the heater, the hot end, the heat end? Like getting that perpendicular to the belt before, or should we just start printing? Actually, for time's sake, I'm just going to start printing. I'll have to do a different video on that. But what I was saying is that there's some adjustment and there's some validation that you have to do. You want to take this off and throw a square up against the hot end to make sure that you are indeed perpendicular to the belt. And I'll tell you what, if you do not do that, one of the things that you'll notice is like you might feel like you get good stick You put your paper in here, your level, you know your level, and the filament will stick on one side and it won't stick on the other because you might have just a slight, imagine what it'd be like if your printer was dramatically angled to one way or the other, where it's almost like trying to push the filament in and then it's dragging across on the way back. So you'd get good stiction when it was coming back, but then when it's like trying to push, it's like trying to push a rope into the, that's a dramatic demonstration right there. So having that angle of attack and the nozzle perpendicular to the belt is an important calibration as well. Eddie, is that like don't be a fool, wrap your tool? Yes, it is. 4210 board. Could even look at dual rail. Yep. One on the back, one on the outside. We could. There's pre-tensioned rails that can be used. There's certainly higher quality rails where there's like the pillow block is like double channeled, if that makes sense, on the side of the linear rail. So it's just a question of like best bang for your buck too, because a lot of people aren't going to want to pay for like $100 linear rails for this kind of thing. Yep. Oh yeah. Why end stop and hard steps again? Thicker belt. Good point. Yep. We'll do that. Okay. Let's fire her up. Power. And power. So as I mentioned, I've got Clipper on here and I've made a nice little cover here. So, you know, the USB actually plugs into the serial on the front of the machine. And in a second, if everything goes right, when the, the ECU unit talks to the MCU unit or whatever that is, whatever, this boots up. Okay, so we've got our boot screen. This is the Clipper boot screen, and this will only appear once we have a good connection between our Pi and the main board. So it requires both in a Clipper configuration, for those who are not familiar with Clipper. I am not super Clipper guy. I'm not Nero 3D. I know enough to get it working on this, and that's about it. Okay, so what Carl was talking about is we need to adjust the end stop position, which is this guy. There's a sensor right here that detects at what point this is going to touch the belt. And I can see right off the bat that we're a bit high because I know I brought these guys back down. So we're going to have to adjust the hard stops. The hard stops are these metal pieces that physically prevent the y-axis from driving itself into the belt. They're like your emergency stop. So those have to move down. And then what we can do is we can adjust the position of the sensor here so that we can walk it in when we home the thing, that the nozzle basically is just above. And there's a number of ways to go about doing this. I know Carl's got some videos on with Marlin. There was like a negative end stop value. There was a technique for that. What I do with Clipper is I literally just on the right side, I bring it down to 0. I get happy with that. I might do a little fudging here or there just to get like a paper thickness off. And then I will validate that I have good distance between the nozzle and this all the way across. And I will just use the opposite side, or whichever side ends up, you have to figure out which side is lower, go to the low side, and then, I'm sorry, which side is higher, go to the low side, bring the low side up to the high side so that you're flat on that linear surface, if that makes sense. Vinny, what's up, buddy? Yeah, you need to get your CR30 to actually adhere to the bed. Well, that's what we're working on. That is what we are working on. Okay, so what you're not going to see is I'm not doing a screen share, and I don't have screen sharing set up because I threw this all together last minute, but I'm going to log into old Orcus here. That's the printer's name. The web interface for Octo. And I'm just going to do a connect, and it's telling me, yeah, there's another update to Octoprint. Seems like they're coming fast and furiously these days, but we're going to ignore that for now. And we're connected, that's good. I'm gonna go to my control dialog and I'm just going to do a quick home, Z home and an XY home. So I'm just looking at it right now and I can see that we're homing a little bit high, which is what we expected, like I said, because I brought it down. So I know the belt's thicker, Carl, but I also messed with the original position of the belt that I had. I can also see I've got a good amount of booger on the nozzle from earlier. So I'm gonna just bring my Y-axis. You can see like its motion is definitely like different than it was under Clipper 2. It's probably because of the default stepper values on this guy. So it just makes a little and I'm gonna heat up the thermistor, make sure that we didn't kill anything. Did I plug, wait a minute, did I plug my Z-axis back in? I did not. Okay, that's a big no-no. I'm gonna power everything down. So I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but you do not want to apply or remove power from a stepper while there is voltage on it. That's a great way to kill a stepper, or a stepper driver even. So don't be better than Pooch. I'm glad I thought of that because I often, you can tell I've forgotten things like this before. Let's see, I've got my wall mounts here and I'm just, let's just go this way. All right, so we're gonna go up and over the extrusion so that it doesn't get pinched if I try to wall mount it. Come back down here and plug into the... Now the other thing that we're supposed to do that we're not gonna do today right now is that Z calibration. All right, we're gonna fire you back up again. And we're gonna just make sure that the Z moves like it should. All right, are we still with me? I had to change screens here. You can blue screen the bed. Yeah, you can. We've got the old blue screen. I'm noticing off the bat, because the tension is actually less on this, that the unloader ramp is too far away, even at its furthest back position. So there may need to be a mod. We may just have to create a different unloader ramp. And honestly, that doesn't bother me. I would love to make this a little bit more shallow of an angle and to come up higher. So that I can really try to shave a little bit more off the belt for some of our finer stuff. But I know that might not work for everybody. I don't know. But I can see there's a good size gap here. And so the belt is just shorter, I guess, by a touch. Maybe there's an opportunity to get it just a little bit longer, you know. Looks like maybe 5-10 millimeters more might get us there. Maybe 20, I don't know. Another centimeter or two. Well, the belt swap itself is quick, but Vinny, but a lot of the things I was talking about earlier on that you really want to check while the belt is off is the time-consuming stuff. And like those are the little details that are going to make a difference in getting a good result, honestly. So, you know, until you really have the time to dive into it properly, and until I have the time to like really go over it, I mean, I'm trying to share some of it as we're going now, but I'm not obviously showing you a lot of the detail of that. All right, so let's reconnect here, and we're reloading because I had to restart. And I'm gonna mark that red, and I'm gonna close that, and I'm gonna home everything. Oh, I gotta connect. And then we home. There we go. We're homing like a homie. And we're gonna move Y-axis, X-axis, everything's moving, and Z. Oh, didn't home the Z-axis first. Clipper's a little weird like that. There we go, look at that. Z is moving. So, right now it's just doing 10s. You know, I could tell it like, here, move 100 at a time so I can at least, so I would typically, if I was like onboarding a new belt, I would run it through like a couple laps, and I would IPA and scrub it and all that stuff. I'm not going to do that because I want to know how it does out of the box. I think it's going to do great out of the box, honestly. I am going to heat up the hot end to just some PLA temps, so I'll just do like 215. And we'll just heat the bed up while we're at it. And I'm gonna like, once that melts the boogeries on the end of the nozzle, because that nozzle looks gross. Let's see, I've got, filament is unloaded, so that's good. We will just do, I'm gonna try to do a quick level process, and then I'll start, I think I'm just gonna start my sheet. So that's heating up. Let's see. It's heating up fast. I will say that. I do love how fast this guy heats up already. And I know. Don't need it. It's a hard nozzle though, guys. Calm down. Okay. It's okay if I just grab with my pliers. I'm just pulling boogers off of there. Just picking the boogers. I know you guys pick your boogers. It's fine. No judgment here. Sweet. Like I said, I just don't have time to go through the whole thing. What you really need to do is you need to take this thing off and put a square against that to make sure that you're perpendicular. I did that already, so trust me, that's done. We should be perpendicular. I'm just gonna make sure fans run while I'm at it. Fan on. Fans are on. Carl, I know I need to do your fan upgrade because you can see, guys, like this is where at one point I'm weak on. Like my fans are way higher than my nozzle tip, so this is not an ideal cooling setup, but it works for most of what I do for right now. Carl's got an awesome double blower mod that's resin print that I really would love to try. I just haven't yet. It's one of the next things I want to look at. Let me run this up a little higher so I can, okay, you're fine, there we go. Oh, look at that. Oh man, there's so much goober under here. There's something oddly satisfying about just pulling like the crummy off of a, like, you know what my favorite trick is for this, guys? I don't know if I have like a scrap part here. You get a scrap part, something that's waste, and you like heat the thing up super hot. And you don't, how is it that I've got a million waste prints and it's because I'm not at the shop. Boo. Well, you get a piece from your scrap bin and then you literally just push it on there and give it like a second or two and then yank it off and it'll just pull the stuff with the material. Usually you have to do the same material. So if it's PETG, do PETG. If it's PLA, do PLA. But put it on there, and that might be a good short content, you know, thing. Maybe you guys already knew that. I don't know. One of my little tricks. Something else you got to look for, the stock heater sock will drag on the stock nozzle and basically lay like some silicone dust in the path of your print. And a lot of people don't realize you're trying to print on top of like the silicone that's rubbed off of the sock. So you got to get some flush cutters and trim that, or just take the sock off. I usually just get some flush side cutters and trim it back, but the longer nozzle doesn't matter. We're well proud of that. So I home, and I'm going to get a piece of paper or a card or whatever distance you like to be. Just got a piece of printer paper here. Maybe you're a, you know, a one folder. You like one fold distance. So I can see here, I am actually on the belt there. That actually looks pretty dang good. Like, I think that side's good. So I'm gonna move over to the other side and hopefully that side's lower, but we'll see. Let's check the center. Okay. So that's where I like to be. I feel like a little bit of friction, but not so much that I can't just slide the paper in there. That's good. So that feels good in the middle. So a lot of times I'll just leave that paper there and then I'll just move it over. Still feels pretty good. Let's walk it all the way to the edge. So one of the things you're going to find, due to the manufacture of these plates, there is just an inherent crown at the end of it where the edges are higher. So we typically avoid, don't go edge to edge, because there's almost always that lip there that is going to like ooze out on either side. So like the more you can print in the center of the bed, the better off you're going to be. Wow, that's, I mean, I know I had already been messing with this one. This is ideal. I think if anything, we're high here, and I'm just gonna see if maybe I can just torque. So the other thing that I'll tell you is like, you can actually get this whole plate to move down even when this screw is bottomed out by tightening the bottom nut, and that'll bring it down just a little bit more. So I'm gonna go back over here. Okay, now I can tell I'm almost like too low on that side. Get back to 0. Yeah, I went too far. Okay, so I'm going to loosen that back up again. I mean, literally, like that, the loosening and the tightening of this, even if this is all the way out, is enough to move and create the friction you need. So look, right off the bat, I'm feeling really good about this. Yep, just want to make sure it's the same cross. This is, honestly, this is some of the best level I've felt off the bat. I surprised myself, Carl. I didn't even need to adjust the end stop. That feels consistent. I feel like we need to just start running pushing some plastic. What do you guys think? Okay, hold on. Here's the other thing. As it heats up too, you'll feel some variance as the bed is heating up. So the bed, right now the bed reading I'm getting, the bed reading I am getting is, we are just 60 even. And it's actually feeling like looser on this side now, a touch, which is fine because we can just kind of do that fine adjustment on the other side. I'll keep walking my way over there and just seeing if we're getting any crowning again, or if it's, I don't know if crowning is the right term. That's like a gross birthing term. Or a natural birthing term. Not the same, guys. And you're welcome for that visual. Okay, so I'd say maybe I've got a touch more friction over here, but it's all really good compared to what I've seen, like in terms of how bad stuff gets. So having a thicker belt may be a good thing, Carl, just in terms of it might like take up a little bit more of that slop, you know? So I'm gonna just see if I loosen that guy a touch. Oh yeah. I mean, we're within like fraction. We're in like 0.5 millimeter realm. So I can still slide it, but I got a little friction. All right, we got to push some plastic. All right. Okay, so I'm just gonna start with the calibration. So we'll rehome. I'm just gonna start with the single layer calibration print that I've already pre-sliced. I think I have it on this printer even. It's kind of cheating. I know it's not going to be exciting, but it's got a good test. Yeah, Repcord does like it thick when it comes to his belts. Ooh, some purple haze is a good choice, Eddie. You want me to go dig out the purple haze? Private Reserve. PLA, we're going to start with PLA, and then I want to try some PETG. If you don't want to do a Sur Layers a lot, how about this model? I will do Sir layers a lot. So I want to do the test first just to see if we're getting some stiction that we can like visibly look at right now. And then if we feel like we're getting a good adhesion, then we'll do a send on a print and we can do layers. Layers a lot. Oh my, yes. Let me see if I've got my calibration on this. So I've got my back strip, I've got the side. Let's do upload. I'm sorry I'm not screen sharing right now, guys. I didn't set up OBS. I hastily put this all together. Okay, so this is a 200 by 550 flat sheet of plastic, like literally one layer thick. Test print that I do to season the belt. We don't need to run the entire length, but I just wanted to run the whole width, and let's just see what we get, right? Full send or no send. So we're gonna grab some filament. Eddie, I'll go look for some purple haze for you. That's a good request. Purple haze. Purple haze. Somebody sing Jimi Hendrix. Through my mind. Here we go. Bingo. Bingo bango. This is some early. This is old, guys, and it's just been sitting out. So, yay, you're gonna get to this. Oh, the filament's wet. Oh no, the print's gonna fail. We're doomed. Wet filament. Shut up. Oh no, I broke the cardinal rule. The cardinal rule of 3D printing, guys and gals, never let go of the end of the spool. Okay, so we've moved. We have an orbiter set up here. I'm not going to go into all the calibration and the clipper config and stuff that I've had to do, but the stock extruder is here, and it is a Bowden run typically. This is just a entrance point now for the feed tube. So I'm just bringing it all the way. I'm going to move Y up, and I'm going to, here, I'll move it over so you guys can see. Let me see. Can you guys see? You can kind of see. You see enough. And let's just do a manual squishy squish. Probably going to push out some of the old PETG that was there first. Yeah, and it's hard because we're a little below where this PETG wants to melt. But that's okay. I'll start with that, and then we'll let the extruder do the work. So let's, we'll just extrude like, what, I don't know, 15 at a time, 15 mil at a time. Extruder go burn. Oh, it's starting to turn purple. Look at that. We got a nice blackish, purplish carbon. God, I love how smoothly that pushes. That's a thick, ropey extrusion, ladies and gentlemen. All right, that's good. Turn the fans off. Okay. All right, I'm just gonna send something that I've pre-sliced because I don't have time to go through. We're gonna do more of these. I promise we're gonna do more of these, and I promise I'm going to share my Kirimoto slicing process. I'm gonna talk more about Clipper. There's just too much meat on the bone to cover all here, and it's my birthday, and my kids are gonna take me to sushi in a little bit. So I want to get moving, and I'd rather have some prints to show for, and I think you guys would as well. And if you don't, too bad, because it's my stream, and it's my birthday. Direct drive CR30, that's what we're dealing with here. It is a direct drive. It's a, I guess technically it is a very short Bowden. It's not technically right on the extruder, but for all intents and purposes, it's direct drive. It's direct drive. Yes, I did. I went from black belt to blue belt, but in this case, I think it may be an upgrade. I don't know if there's some martial arts where that's a better, but I think it could be better. Yeah, PETG. Let's see here. Hold on. Don't tell me my pets. I can see everything. Let's see. You flying out when it's time to build my print room. Eddie, I am more than happy to consult as a paid consultant. So you cover, expenses and room and board. I'm down. I want to do it, and we'll go out and we'll have as much fun as you want to have, and pay for. I'll give you the friends and family rate. It'll be great. It'll be great. Yeah, technically all direct drive is a short boat, and you're right, Zombie Head Charlie. That's a good point. That's a good point. All right. Hey, Bob. Love Bob. Good to see you, Bob. Man, we've been going almost 2 hours already, and we're just getting to it. All right, are you guys ready for the full send? I don't know. I'm a little nervous. Like, I don't like live demos. Like, I have not practiced any of this, but we gotta go big or go home, right? And I'm already home. All right, so I am. You know what? Hell with it. Let me think. I think I can just. I'm gonna real time against recommendation. I'm gonna add a screen capture source to OBS on the fly. And let's see, I need a, not an image, a Mac OS screen capture. And, oh, look at that. Display, oh no, I don't think I want to just capture my whole display. Well, it's already done it. All right, let's not do that. Let's delete that. Yeah. Sorry guys, I'm like kind of OBS. Where is it? Media source? No, it's not a media source. Where's the one where like I can just do a, is it, oh, maybe just a browser window. How about that? Browser, existing, not existing, create new browser. No, it's not a browser. What is it I want? Somebody in the chat tell me. I'm being stupid right now. Not that, remove that. I just want to show you my Octo screen. You know what I'm saying? Scene. I feel like they just changed all this. Video capture? Oh, window capture. It's this is like new upgrade stuff. Okay, so it's under depreciated now. I'm gonna go with a window capture. See what that does. Window is Google Chrome Octoprint. Here we go. Look at that. Okay, but it's too zoomy zoom. I know, this is gross, guys. I'm sorry. But you know what? It is what it is. So, okay, here's my Octo Clipper. And, you know, for those of you guys have seen Octoprint before, probably. What I did was I uploaded my test sheet. This is just a flat single layer sheet, and I'm sending, and I'm not using, so I've got plugins for continuous print so I can send different files endlessly and stuff to it, but for right now we're just gonna operate without that, and I'm gonna print, and it's gonna go. And it's gonna go. So yeah, you get to watch me do that. Let's move that out of the way. No, wait, that's not the right thing. You go. This is ugly. This is just ugly. There we go. It's all happening real time. It's heating. It is heating. Temps are going to 230 on this one. You know what? I think I might have set it up for PETG originally, so, but it should work. Let's find out. Let's find out. All right, so what do we got here? Come on. We might be too close. We got to back off. That's fine. Oh wait, no. You know what? Nope, we were just in the first bit hadn't oozed out yet. All right, we're starting to lay down. I still think we're a touch too close. I'd like to back away. Let me see if I can just bring you down and bring you down. Here we go. Oh, this is starting to look good. Guys! Oh, I shouldn't be this excited. So I just brought this down a touch. There's a fine line where it's putting that. So this is a 0.6 nozzle as well, guys. So that's one of the other upgrades that I would say is just critical. When you're belt printing, the the slice profile of the extrusion is at a 45-degree angle. So think about that bead going down. And traditionally, it's expecting it to squish as it pushes down against a standard 3D printed flat surface, right? If you're running totally perpendicular. When you tip the nozzle 45 degrees, it's putting less of that bead surface area down. It can't squish it equidistantly the same way that it does on a standard printer, if that makes sense. There's got to be a good analogy for this. Maybe Carl has a better descriptor for it. But if you go to a thicker extrusion via a thicker nozzle, you make up some of that distance a little bit more. So you're putting more plastic down on the bed. So that is a good tip just to get stuff to adhere better. Go to a thicker nozzle because you're going to put more surface area of the belt and plastic in contact. Does that make sense? This is fantastic. Like off the bat, I'm getting a little too low over here. But again, I can kind of like this is my live adjust Z. I'm just kind of feathering how tight this is. So this isn't quite stuck. The whole thing broke free. Maybe we should have done an IPA wash. Okay, so we're too low now. The joys of belting. Okay, so I brought the belt back up again. So what's a little fun about this too is that as the whole system kind of heats up, it's almost like it should go through like a thermal mass cycling or a preheat cycle. I can see it just kind of like squirting and bouncing off of the belt. Like we're right in between where we want to be. And what's going on now? Now I'm just not getting the same kind of stick. And you get this compounding problem sometimes where it just collects on the nozzle. And you can see I'm going painfully slow. That's intentional. So when I slice, one of the reasons I use Kirimoto, let me go back so I can see the chat. One of the reasons I use Kirimoto is because I can control the parameters of the slice at the point where it is only touching the belt. No other slicer, to my knowledge, currently does that, which means that I can change the extrusion thickness at only the belt layer. I can change just the speed. I can change the cooling. I can change all the parameters for just the point. So I can literally have the thing going, like slowing just where it touches the belt, which makes all the difference when you are trying to get it to stick. So this is interesting, guys. It's kind of grabbing. It's like the thickness of the belt is so ridged that it feels like it's hitting the texture is so thick compared to what I'm typically seeing. When it's at one point on the Z where it's hitting the high spot, it's sticking, and then when it drops into the valley of that ridge, it looks like it's letting go. So what that tells me is that we need to be thickening up the amount of extrusion that we're pushing, I think, on it so that it's filling that gap more. I can try bringing the belt a little higher too and letting it naturally squish. I also think that probably doing an IPA rinse is not a bad idea. But you know what? I'm gonna try bringing the belt up a touch to see if we just can put some more squish on it. See if we can just manually brute force our way. And then I'll look at more questions. Okay, so I can see it start to squish down again. But again, this is so weird. I can literally see it kind of going in the grooves. Like, I don't know if you can hear that, but there's like a substantial texture to this belt. So I think playing with your first layer squish is going to be like a little bit of a different process, a little more critical. May need to go closer than I thought. And honestly, I think I'm going to stop and do a little IPA rinse. just to see. I mean, I think we can get it without it. And we may be honestly going a little too hot. I might bring the temperature down a touch manually here too. I love this print for doing this because like you can kind of play with it on the fly as you're getting things dialed in. Okay, now I'm starting to see some better sticking. So I was bringing the belt up ever so slightly. I told you I really don't want to have to do much manipulating here because I don't want to affect it more downstream. Okay, this is starting to look good. You can hear the excitement in my voice. It's bring that temp down a little bit. So the temperature, I feel like the temperature with different belts matters on the material because the flow characteristic of the plastic and what the temperature is when it hits the belt and how much of the temperature of the heated plate propagates through the belt. Like, because this is a thicker belt, this is definitely not as warm. Like, I may need to go warmer than 50 or 60 C that I normally do. But I can also tell that it's slowly saturating through because there's probably just more insulative value to it. But I'm getting good stick now. You know, I'm not gonna mess with it. I'm gonna let it go, and then we're gonna see how good the stick actually is, and then we're gonna try some PETG probably. All right, let's look at some questions. Yeah, we're doing it live. Thank you for the birthday wishes, Major Gamer Geek. Repcord, never do something live that you haven't practiced and know how it will turn out. You know what, Eddie, we're full send here, man. Like, we're just going with it. I want you guys to see what the experience is like firsthand. I'm not trying to fool anybody. Maker Viking, what's going on, man? You're up late. Octoprint for 45-degree belts, right? I love Octoprint for any degree belt. The plugin, there are some, like, I could do a piece of content easily on like critical plugins for 3D printing. For belting, continuous print plugin is like amazing. It's so there's some G-code hacks and stuff, like if the firmware supports it, where you can create loop code and whatnot. You don't need any of that if you use Octoprint and the continuous print plugin, because it has a whole buffer and unload scripts. And my God, Carl, you really, if you haven't played with that yet, it's going to change your life when it comes to like doing production stuff. You can like real-time rearrange stuff in the queue. Bill Steele had a similar setup for Polar, what was it, the Polar Cloud, that allowed for this. And it's awesome because think about like if you're using this in a production environment and you have to prioritize your queue. Oh, you know what? We need to print this before that, or this failed, so we need more. Like you can literally drag and drop things around, and the next, what's going to print next, will happen independent. You don't have to restart the print. You can literally just, as long as you can keep it fed with filament, it will go forever, or until you run out of power or something fails, which is why we try to make it as reliable as possible. Let's see, more questions, more comments. Carl, just hanging out, Discord, how you doing? That's good. Maker Viking. Let's see. Let's just talk amongst yourselves. Is the belt smoother like a fabric? Map Lab. Oh, so shout out Map Laboratories. Thank you for joining us. This belt is very textured. It is not smooth. It is more like a fabric and more like a canvas, like a heavy canvas. Carl, would you say that's fair? And man, is that... Oh, that's great. Now I'm tempting fate here by just like... No, that's sticking good. That is sticking good. So there's a couple telltale... So there's a couple advantages to doing this type of test print when you're first getting started. Obviously, like I said, it kind of allows you to live adjust Z. But you can also start to get some good visuals on what's happening with the shape of your bed based on what happens at the edges. So if you have that crowning at the edge, or if you have a convex, like you'll see like the filament might start to ooze out and squirt only on one side. And so that kind of tells you which way you need to start moving your bed to get it back and forth. So like there's a little bit of like a high spot over here, which tells me that we're probably over extruding, and when it changes directions, it's kind of just squirting a little bit extra out on that side. And it's not doing it on this side. So the other tell that gives us is, remember when I was saying like you have to put that square there to make sure you're totally perpendicular to the belt? If your nozzle is angled slightly to one direction or other, you'll get that ooze typically on the side that your tip is pointing more. So if it was really exaggerated, your ooze pileup is on this side, you might be over here. There's other things that can contribute to that too, like the way that you slice and the way that it's ordering stuff, and that's all configurable inside Kirimoto, which we can talk about in another one. But for this particular slice, it is just continuously going back and forth and advancing one row. Also, I did not do a Z calibration. We talked about that earlier. So the amount of squish between layers hasn't been perfected. I would run, before I start doing production parts for especially long stuff, I would run typically a 100 millimeter long piece, typically just wide enough so that I got enough surface area that's sticking. So, you know, I don't know, Carl's got like a little stick calibration for Z. I think it's, what, Carl, 10, 15, 20 millimeters wide. Not very wide, but just goes back and forth, and it's 100 long. And so you'd print that, and then you take it off and then throw some calipers on it and say, yes, I'm like either exactly 100 millimeters, I'm 98, or I'm 100. And then you do math the same way you would do for an E calibration, which you should also do when you first tune in your... So there's some calibration, as you guys well know. But those are things that once you set it, if you don't touch it, you should be good. The other thing that we didn't do that I would normally do is I would run a couple laps. I would do an IPA wipe down just by default. I usually default to IPA. The reason I was shouting out Map Laboratories is he's the one that clued me into the stock belts. The problem that a lot of people have with the stock belts is that there is they have the tools to do a analysis of the belt, and found that there was a silicone mold release agent on the belt that was preventing stuff from sticking well. And his advice was using xylene or heptane or like a hardcore silicone remover to get that top layer off there, so that you were actually printing on the belt surface that was intended to be the belt surface. That made all the difference, because no amount of IPA wiping is going to get rid of silicone. It doesn't break silicone down. Hopefully, if you're still with us, Map, that I described that. Are the grooves perpendicular or slanted? They are... I'm going to say like it looks almost like a really fine fish scale or a dragon scale, where they're offset. No, it's okay. So it's not a continuous line, but they're not offset. They're all like the raised bumps are all linear. So there's like a pit and a groove type setup. It literally looks like a weave. So if it was a weave, I suppose that would create an offset, but it doesn't look staggered. I'm not sure if I'm describing that well. Oh, Maker Vikings doing some work on Fenrir. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Appreciate that. 5x10x100. Yep. Kirimoto has a zigzag for doing calibration. It does have a zigzag. I prefer doing this sheet over the zigzag for different reasons, because I can actually control. I think the zigzag is just built in, if I'm not mistaken, for Kirimoto. And he's got the extrusion multiplier jacked way up for it. So I like to control all the variables so I can understand what's happening a little bit better. And Also, like I said, I can see visually like what my consecutive layer stack looks like when I'm not like going down. Like there's not really a scenario where you're actually printing this direction. Typically, like that would be kind of non-planar in belt world. Okay, so this is interesting, and it almost feels like it's like inheriting some of the texture of the belt itself on the surface, because it's kind of like mashing itself into the grooves as it puts it down, but it's cool. There's enough here to, I'm just gonna like peel it off if I can. If I'm not gonna tear a fingernail. Ooh. Well, maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm like way dug in. There we go. Okay, here we go. Oh yeah. Oh, that puts a nice beaded texture on it. So let's see here. Let's see if I can't walk it up to the camera. Let's see here. So you can see there's like a little bit of like a squish thickness, but not a lot right there. So there's, you know, there's some tuning that I could do to get the extrusion multiplier just right, but this is great. Honestly, I felt like that stuck well, but not too well, which is just what we want. And you can see it just picked right back up and kept printing. So I'm happy with this level. So I'm gonna start a Sir Prince-A-Lot for Carl. And then I'm gonna let it go, and then I'll share on Twitter. Hey, Win's here. Yeah, so I'll start that, and then I'll share on Twitter the result of what that slice looked like. Thank you, Win. Appreciate the birthday wishes. Is the belt more like a traditional texture or a satin PEI bed? It's a very, very thick texture. It's like a denim. More than it's just like a canvas, like a heavy canvas. I don't know. So it's definitely gonna require some more squish. Oh, well, here's the thing. Would you guys rather, before I start the Sir Prince-A-Lot, see how PETG sticks? Should we do that? And then we could probably even try some ABS. What time is it? Yeah, why don't we do that? I'll try a couple different materials without, like, we still haven't rinsed this thing. We'll just try seeing what we can get to stick, if we can do the same thing and get good stiction with some PETG and some ABS, and then I will send a print. I will slice and send a print and post results. I'll set up my time lapse and share that after. How's that sound? Would acetone be too strong to just remove the mold release? That's a good question. I'm not a chemist, but as I understand it, acetone is not what you need for. I don't think acetone does well on silicone. I feel like we had that conversation. It breaks down a lot of things, but I don't think silicone is one of them. Somebody, Map, if you're still here, correct me if I'm wrong. Thank you for the call to action. Yeah, if you want to like and subscribe and tell friends. You know I love doing the live streams. I love doing the shorts. I want to do more of this stuff. It's rare that I have the time and the energy, but I'm trying. And you guys encouraging me is exactly what I need. So thank you all for being here and joining me. Oh, good. IdeaMaker does have a belt layer speed option. I don't think it did when I was trying it more. So that's good. I'm glad are they still doing development for belt specific stuff? Can you change extrusion multiplier and other belt layer specifics? Carl? All right, let me grab some other material while you guys watch that, because it's amazing to watch. You can listen to me walk around. I'm in here amongst all the rep racks, Liz. And let's get some PETG that'll contrast well. How about some Yeah, get some Prusament orange. could do the carbon fiber PETG from, well, we print that stuff a lot. I guess that's, well, carbon fiber is kind of cheating. I know I have an open PETG. Hold on. Oh, I got purple haze in PETG right here. Yeah, kind of want to do a different filament though. Thinking, it's almost like too many choices. Let's see, here's some ABS. That's blue though, but whatever. What's this? This looks like I got matte. What are you? Oh, it's silk? No, I don't know if we dare do silk. We got some TPU. We can test some TPU, some Flex, Ninja. Also blue. Why is it all blue? Blue, 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 blue. PETG Prusament orange, but on a 2 kilo. I guess to throw some rollers down. All right, you guys get to listen to me talk to myself. Just, don't mind the man behind the curtain. All right, just grabbing one last thing. Be right there. You're right there. Everybody, don't panic. Just grabbing some rollers. That's how we roll. And I'm back. All right, so I'm gonna say PLA good. Check. All right, PETG next. PETG. Pet project. Let's see, I'm gonna slide you over a touch. And let's, as fun as it would be to just like change it on the fly, we're not gonna do that. Sure we are. Don't try this at home, kiddos. Hopefully we don't cake the nozzle. Told you we're full send. Wait a minute, did he just pull the filament while the printer was printing? Yes, he did. And crud, this end came off. Let's see. Well, hopefully this isn't curled under. Oh. Detected it was out of filament. The filament detector, filament sensor does work. The post for the spool holder is not wide enough for these 2 key spools, so I'm just gonna, let's put a clean tip on it, you know. Let's put a clean tip on it. Let's go back to the chat. What are you guys doing? What are you guys talking about? Team Orange, yeah. Let's see. I'm not sure if it does much better. Does much, but I have a bottom solid fill flow rate at 110. Never really had much of an adhesion problem though. You, my friend, are a lucky boy because a lot of people have had a lot of adhesion problems. I'm gonna move this. This is one of my beefs with this. Like, I don't know why they chose to use like 7 different size screws for the various components of this printer, but they did, and it's annoying. That should be fine. That's out of the way enough, and that'll pull. Okay, so we're going back here, and let's see here. If I remember my continue, go back to my clipper, resume. Okay, it's resuming. This would be interesting. I don't think we're gonna have caught enough of it to actually like bind PETG to PLA, but maybe. Science. These are how happy accidents happen. Okay, so it's pushing out the rest of the PLA that was just left in the hot end, and it's going to transition at some point to Team Orange here. Spool Daddy in the house. Yeah, from now on you can all affectionately refer to me as Spool Daddy. I love it when you call me Spool Daddy. You know what, I think it's good. I find a little niche. Nobody cares about spools the way I do, and spool mounting and spool holding and spool storage. I mean, I'm a spool daddy. That's what spool daddies do. Sometimes yourself is the best person to talk to. Yeah, that's true. Not talking to yourself as long as the camera's on. That's right. The run out sensor did work. You saw it. It was just a touch delayed. This is kind of cool. It's creating a little stripey. Now, this is a little bit cheating because it's got a shelf that it can start on already. So what we want technically is for it to start on its own and see what kind of native stick we get. Let's see. You have a steel belt, Max. He's a nozzle just a bit lower than level, so he's a drive the filament in. Okay, so look. So here we go. Materials differences. Okay, we're not getting good stick yet. So this is fun part of the challenge too. It's very easy to create a cascading issue when you're first laying down filament, where it just when it starts to ooze on itself. So this feels like it's almost too low or not hot enough. And so it's like the PETG is kind of bouncing off right now. So I'm going to try bringing it lower. Let's see if we can actually walk it in. I'll walk it in. Walk it in. Hopefully not get it boogering too much. See, I'm glad that I took away my little cheater strip, because we got to give it a fair shake. Yeah, we're not getting any stick there. Okay, we can try going the other way. Should we try going more into the belt? More heat? How about some more heat? Well, let's see if we can get it with distance first, and then we'll start playing with the heat. All right, here we go. So what's crazy is if you get it driving too far down into the belt, it almost squirts its way out of there. It's not actually, I can see it's actually starting to push into the belt where it's leaving kind of a groove in the belt, which is not ideal either. It really should be, if done right, should be able to stick of its own accord. Okay. Kind of back down to where it was on PLA. We're just kind of bouncing off here. Let's see if we play with the heat a little bit more. The heat right now, we're at 230, which is in range, but maybe a little cool for PETG. So I'm going to ramp up. I'm going to go to 250. Prusament likes it a little hotter. And sometimes, guys, just the ends, is where some of that, I'm not going to say moisture doesn't matter. It is possible. This has been sitting out for a little bit. When what I usually like to do is spool off about a meter, clip it, because it feels like that surface contact stuff is what gets affected, and you'll start to see different results from stuff a little deeper in the spool. No joy still. I over temped it. There's a thermal protection I forgot that I've got set too low on this one, and I overran it, so I think I might have to do a restart. E-stop. Yep. That's my bad. That's a Clipper thing. Let's just restart the host and the firmware. The same defaults, I believe, on this like allow it to go to like 245, and I didn't update the what's the control the printer.cfg. Where is it? The max temps. That's fine though, I'm just set it to 245. If it's, I don't know that this is a temp thing. I'm gonna try cranking up the bed heater as well. Let's see, print that again. Oh. You start the firmware, you start the host. All right, and now we'll take an ad break for our sponsor, which is me. Sponsored by Repcord. Pezles cares. PETG doesn't want to stick to PLA, but bounce is a different way to say that. Yeah. Hey! What's up, Adrian? Mars Gizmo in the house, everybody. Let's see. Very fine line. Took me about a month. Let's see. All right, Carl. Good seeing ya. Sorry, I was very focused. You caught me at an interesting time. You tuned in at an interesting time. So we had a good result with PLA. To catch you up, Adrian. Right off the bat with the PETG, we were not getting good belt stick, so I was trying to play with the temperatures, and then I overshot, and the firmware restarted stuff on me. So let's see. Oh, there's always more to sell you, Vinny. Don't worry. There's plenty. Okay, so we're reconnected. We're restarting the print. There we go. And temperatures, I'm gonna go, I'll just say 240, 245, and let's bring that belt up to 75. Let's go to 80. I always feel like going too hot is better than too cold. Also, you know what, the AC just, not the AC, but the furnace just kicked on, and it's blowing like straight down onto me. Let me turn that off. Too many variables at play. All right, so we're gonna give this a few passes as it's heating up. And if we can't get PETG to stick, we're gonna switch to ABS, and then I'm gonna call the stream, and I'll start Surprints a lot, and then I'll post results after the fact onto the tweeters. That's it. It's ABC. Always be closing. Always be closing. Not just selling. Let's see. Yes. So wait, hold on. Norway. So I do have a European distributor. Obviously you can buy through Prusa. 3D Jake has some of our stuff. I've got a new European warehouse, but they are EU only. I don't remember if Norway is one of the exceptions to that. Is Norway in the EU? Sorry, I don't remember. Is it the Netherlands or Norway? I can't. Somebody set me straight. Not sticking. Not sticking. I was having better luck with ABS on that last belt that Naomi sent me than this. I'm gonna try bringing this up a touch more. Hold on. What? Let me report temps real quick. We are at 80 and oh, it was at 230 still, so I forgot to send that, so it's going up to should be going up to 245 now. Right now it's at 230. I don't think that's going to help us though. Seems like it's just bouncing right off of that surface. Well, I'm not liking this, and I think I want to take it out and I want to try ABS real quick. Okay, let's do that. Let's put some stinky ABS in there, and then we're going to call it a night for our non-scientific testing, and then I'll have to play with it some more. So I'm not ready to give up on it. There may be some other tricks that I can try, but I am not as impressed by that, nor should anybody be, as the PLA. I'll just leave it in the sensor, just bypass it, and it'll never stop. Like real-time filament changes, extreme. Clean the tip. Wait, now it's actually, maybe I just didn't give it long enough. Now it's actually starting to lay down a line. Well, sort of. All right, I'm not ready to give up on PETG, but for the sake of time right now, yeah, it was sticking there. It was sticking there. And in a way, I think it's because the temps got up to 245. I was getting better adhesion at that point. Okay, now we're starting to transition to our PETG ABS combo. And let's get you out of the way. And I'm gonna leave that filament piece in the sensor so it doesn't just shut down on us. Yeah, I did it again. Guys, don't let go of the ends of your spools. Rule number 1 of 3D printing. All right. Adrian, what have you been up to? I think you're traveling. You told me you were traveling this week. I'll keep him on. We'll keep him on the spoolie spool. That's fine. Well, it looks like we're just creating a mess now. Creating a big blobby mess. Let's bring it all the way back down again. Everybody gets to start from the bottom. Okay, we're bottomed out. We are fully bottomed out. So, just from what I'm seeing here, like just from manually kind of pushing the filament, if I up the extrusion multiplier where we get our flow rate up a little bit more and it's putting more plastic down, I think we're gonna have better odds of getting it to stick off the bat. But clearly ABS and PETG are just more finicky with this surface than the PLA. Bringing the bed up just a little bit, just a little bit. See if I can get that ideal squishy squish. I don't know if you guys can see this, but like I'm literally like driving it manually in just to get it started. So that's where like getting that flow rate adjustment just right at the very beginning makes all the difference. And there we go. It's like we just needed a little pressure boost to get it started. So I think we can compensate for this in the slicer configuration where there are modes inside Kirimoto and maybe even in other slicers. Oh, it's pulling it back down again. But it was sticking when I was like fully. Anyway, where you can adjust, you know, the extrusion multiplier, or obviously set some start G code. There's like brims, similar to like brims and you know, other techniques for start assists, and that really matters on models where you've got you know, a very small, like if you're trying to start at a small corner or something like that, you really want to have like a good amount of lead in. That might be a sacrificial tab that you break away. Okay, it's showing promise, but it's not there, and it's going to require more tuning, and I have to go. So I think we're going to call it here. I will report back. I want to thank you guys for joining me. Good, Mark's good. Adrian, I'm glad you're back in your studio, and he's ready to travel again. Any last minute questions before we sign off here? Nanopolymer adhesive would do. I think there's certainly little assists that that we can add that that would help. But before I start doing that, like I'm really trying to evaluate what we can do without having to like add surface adhesion assistance and stuff like that. I don't know if you feel like it's a fair shake to just have done it without doing any kind of IPA rinse or anything. Like I literally took this straight from the box and sent it. And we got PLA to stick, so that's good, but that's one material, and PLA, especially for like production parts, is not common. So to me, like minimum, like I need to see some like PETG, some ABS. I want to see how it does with TPU. So I've definitely got a lot more prep to do. There might be some easy stuff, like just a basic IPA wash could help. Getting the temps right, getting the extrusion multiplier right. I'll go over a couple things, make sure nothing came out of alignment, because I know I shortcutted a lot of the things that I had talked about. But I like the potential. I just need to understand it a little bit better. So we'll give it some more time and see where we get. Let's see. All right. Everybody have a fantastic weekend. Thank you for joining me. And thank you for the birthday wishes. I'm going to go enjoy some sushi for my birthday. I love sushi. And I will catch you guys on the next one of these. Until then, happy printing. Bye-bye.